Court hearing today will change sentencing recommendations for the former tennis coach convicted of taking upskirt photos of a minor. The prosecutor told the court one of the victims gave additional evidence that could have resulted in another charge. The court will allow that information read at sentencing, which will increase the prosecution's sentencing recommendation. It will not result in any future prosecution of Denault related to that incident. As we've reported, last month Joshua Denault pleaded no contest to charges related to taking inappropriate photos of the victim at a tennis club on his phone during tennis practice. Denault will still be sentenced on May 20th.